Hello, welcome to the first episode of the Crazy Coop House Farm podcast. Today we'll be talking with a very good friend of mine, Candy Hauser, from the Hauser Homestead. Here's our conversation with Candy.
Candy Hauser. I have Hauser Homestead and now Hauser Embroidery located in Enfield, Nova Scotia. I farm as well as other things, but on the farm side, I grow my own food. I save my own seeds. I raise chickens for eggs at the moment and hopefully for meat in the future. And I raise goats for milk. And that's where we are right now.
And where do you want the farm to be in a couple years? Where do you see your farm going as you continue your farming adventure?
We've always had a dream to have cows. So that I would say that's next on the list. We'd really like to get into more of the meat production of things. So I would really like to have meat chickens that are processed properly and that I can actually sell. I would like to also have possibly meat goats. I have 2 goats right now that can give me meat goats, which is kind of the part of the reason I got them, that if I make that decision down the road, I already have the goats for that. Cows would be for meat and possibly milk. And I've always wanted sheep. I just have to get my husband on board, which and also having multiple greenhouses, like the big greenhouses here would be on my list.
Would you use the greenhouses for personal produce production or to sell in a farm market type?
I'd say for the first, because we have a small greenhouse right now and it gives me an abundance of tomatoes every year. And I would like a couple of commercial sized greenhouses to be able to offer, not at a farm market. I'm not big on farm markets myself. I don't like to pick up my stuff and go. I used to do that and it was tiring and I didn't find it gave me, I didn't find that I made enough to make it worth it for me. So the more that I can do on farm and sell on farm, the better off my sanity will be, and the happier we'll all be here. And I actually I'd feel more accomplished if I can do things on farm.
So you'd prefer more of a open farm day sale than going and meeting people?
Definitely. Yeah. Open farm day was in East Hants. We had that, and that was an awesome experience for us. We had a lot of people show up in the rain, and I think if for Open East Hants Day, and if we do open farm day in September, I anticipate that we'll have those same people show up. And if I could offer maybe next year produce or more stuff to that side of it, that would really boost what we do here and get recognition, and I don't have to leave my property because evidently I'm a nomad.
Yeah. We don't have many products here yet. We're just getting into the flow of keeping the animals, but I'd like that too at some point for here.
And there's a lot of that, right? Like that's getting into farming. I'd say the first 5 years is figuring out how animals, if you're doing animals, how animals work, and if you're getting into gardening of any sorts, figuring out what your soil does.
Yes, yeah. Gardening is not a strong suit of mine. I can take care of animals pretty well. I can't keep a garden running.
Yeah. It takes a lot of effort and trial and error, especially if you haven't been handed fertile soil which then you're starting right from scratch, and it can be really hard at first and discouraging when you're like, I did everything that I was told or that I read and it's still not working.
Yeah. So how is it that you guys came to start your farm? What steps did you guys take, and how did you end up with a big old happy farm?
So it kind of starts when we moved here. So I'm not originally from Nova Scotia, but my husband Jeff is. I moved here from Alberta, where is middle of farm country.
Yeah.
And we didn't grow up on a farm. We only had dogs and cats when I was growing up, but my grandparents had cows and pigs and chickens and wheat fields and everything else. And I remember going there, and my grandma also did pretty much all the stuff I do and then some. Like, she also sewed and knitted and made all the food and created things from scratch and everything. And that was really, I feel that I didn't have a choice but to do what I'm doing. It was kind of born into me. And so when we moved here, it was an opportunity to kind of start over. And our first kind of thing was, okay, let's get a garden in place and start to grow some of our own food. Now, like I said, it took a couple of years, and we were still trying to find how because we live on clay in our property. So we were developing dirt and different, all different kinds of soils and stuff, and bringing them in and taking them out and bringing them in. And so we started with the garden and the greenhouse, and then it was always my intention when we moved here to get chickens. And so we got initially like 7 chickens as laying hens for ourselves. And after a couple of years of chickens, then Jeff actually surprised me with goats. I had been researching them forever.
Yeah.
And was getting prepared to get dairy goats. And Jeff took me to a farm one day in West Hants to evidently look at more chickens. And I was like, I don't know, why do we need more chickens? We already got like 25 chickens. Why do I need more chickens? And when we got there, I'm like, oh, this is like the best farm. It has all the animals. And he's like, pick out 2 goats. I was like, what? So that's how the goat side of it started. And they lived in our garage for about 4 months until the barn was built.
Oh yeah.
And
was that Rosie and Bucky that came?
Rosie and Bucky, yeah. They lived in our, like, where my car sits in my garage.
Yeah.
And and Rosie had babies out there, and about 2 days after the babies were born, then they moved to they were out there for a while. They were out there for about 6 months, actually, in that garage.
Yeah. The day we brought Penny home, it was pouring down rain, and the little hut that I had built just flooded. So her first night was actually in the back of my grandfather's truck.
Yeah.
That was where she spent her first night.
Yeah. So that's kind of how, yeah. I think it's always funny to think of the ways that people come on to animals. And I thought I had done, and I'm glad I did the research I did.
Yeah.
Beforehand, because a lot of people don't, and I've dealt with a lot of people that don't, and it's kind of scary when you hand them one of your animals and they don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
But I had a really good mentor in my friend Mary Jewers, who really kind of walked us through, okay, if this happens to the goat, then this. If this happens, then this. The chickens were a little different. Like, I've learned chickens as I've gone. And the first time a chicken died on me, I was very upset, and now it means, I hate to say it, it doesn't mean nothing, but you lose a chicken, and that's farm life.
It's easier to cope with after a few.
Yeah, and so when I teach about chicken keeping, that's one of the things that is very important for me to teach is like if you're going to get into this, you need to be able to accept inevitable death.
Yeah.
And it's not always that you did something wrong, and most of the time you didn't do anything wrong, because chickens will die for any reason that you could possibly think of, and that's their whole goal in life is to die.
Yes, that is their ideal goal is to find the most creative way to leave the farm.
That's right. So I take objection now. And maybe I wouldn't say I didn't, but maybe I didn't as much before, but I take great objection now to anybody that comes up to you and says a farmer doesn't care about their animals.
Yeah.
Because they may not show the pain or anything through it so much that it's not that it doesn't matter, it's just we know how to cope.
Yeah. You figure out along the way how to manage dealing with things like that, and you become a little less sensitive towards those issues.
Yeah. So that's kind of how we started. Not to say that I didn't. There was a couple times when I didn't want to give up, especially when Bucky would tear through a fence.
Yeah, the fence. Those are always fun to deal with.
But there's nothing that would ever let me give up my animals now, and all I can see is going up and up and up from here.
So, speaking of some struggles you face, what's one of the biggest struggles you guys face regularly, or you've faced in the past, and why was it such a big struggle, and how did you manage with it?
The first, like I mentioned before, the first one was losing the first few chickens and not realizing that they just die. And that was a hard thing to get over. That was a big struggle for me, because I'm like, if I want to have 50 odd chickens at any one time at some point, then I need to get over that. And that was a big hurdle. With the goats, the biggest struggle has always been fencing from day one.
Yeah.
Absolutely from day one. I can deal with their temper tantrums and their personalities and just the way they deal with each other. And roosters attack, I can deal with all that stuff. It's the constant destruction of structure that's been a big struggle for us.
So what is something you've done, for the fencing to keep your rowdy goats from destroying it more often or getting out?
Pallets have been our best friend. Yeah. We also part of that was actually getting rid of Bucky.
Yeah.
Since we've gotten rid of our buck, not that, and we will have another one, but since we've gotten rid of him, we've not had any problems with the fencing. Of course, the goats still find little holes in here to escape here and there, but you're going to have that no matter what. But man, it feels good to not have to fix a fence every 2 days now. So a big thing was getting rid of the buck. That was the problem.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest that to everybody. There's probably stronger fencing, but for us, in our little setup, pallets and getting rid of the problem goat was so when I next get a buck, I'm going to be a lot more critical of the type of buck I get. He's not going to have horns, and I'll do a lot of research on the breed and everything before I actually get him.
Yeah. So when you bring your cattle in, will you learn from the goats there and get a stronger fence?
Yeah, well, right off the bat, we'll probably go with we've gone back and forth on electrical fence with the goats, and we decided that it's just not for us, for the goats. And right now, the way they're acting, we don't need it. But we would probably do that with any cows or anything larger that we would get. And we might do a barbed fencing, but I would say that we'd try the electrical fence and see if that does it right off the bat, because that would be the easiest solution. Also, it's having a dedicated area for the cows that's going to help with that situation as well. That does, well, a lot of the way, I think the way our little farm area is set up is a little different. A lot of people have big open fields and stuff like that, and we just don't have that. We're in the process of creating a field space, but I would say we're going to be looking at a type of cow like a Highland or something like that can go in the trees as well and work with our property, that they don't feel like they need to leave the fenced area.
Yeah. Highland cows, they are on my list. But not going to happen for many, many years.
No, and they're one of those ones that they're very pretty, but they're not the most practical cow either, unless you want to sell their babies to other hobbyists.
Yeah.
It takes about, where a normal cow, you'd be able to send it to slaughter within 2 years. It could take up to 4 or 5 years for a Highland to be a viable meat cow. Yeah.
I didn't know about that, but
yeah.
I just like their looks. Their horns are beautiful, and their long red hair. Not all of them are red, but I like the red ones.
Yeah. As a person, a cow's personality, if you were gonna have something more like a petting zoo or anything like that, then absolutely Highland cow, because they're like I think they're one of the most docile. Well, all cows are docile, I think, but they're one of the more docile ones I've found. And they're the pretty ones that everybody will want to come visit. And that's, when we're talking about what's on my future list, the workshop, like I do a lot of workshops now, and more workshops are on that list, and adding like an animal therapy element to the farm as well.
Yeah. But you were talking to me about that earlier.
Yeah. So like we have, like, as you know, Josh, we have the friendliest goat in the world here.
Oh yes, yeah.
And people often, especially my sewing students, will come by and they'll make time to come here on other days to just pet the goats, to hang out with the goats. Sunny is the friendliest goat in the world. She's a big goat, but she will let you pet her all day and all night, and for some reason that just calms people down. So that would be part of the reason why I could justify getting more animals, because it's not cheap to keep them.
No, yeah. So speaking about your classes and your thoughts on animal therapy, what are some other products that you guys on the farm produce, and how do you use your animals to pay for their own feed or to get a bit of profit from your farm?
So 2 main things right now. So the main one is selling eggs from the chickens, and right now we sell enough eggs that it pretty much pays for the chickens per month. We don't make any extra from them, but they do pay their way, and pay for the slackers as well.
Yeah.
From the goats, I use the goat's milk for a couple different things. So the main one is making my own goat's milk soap, which sells at Lily Pond in Elmsdale, and Beyond the Wharf in Maitland, and Crafter's Cove in Fall River, and at my house, people just come by and grab soap. That's the main one, and that's my soap. Just the soap element of it pays for the hay, the feed, the any housing fixes, any veterinary costs, any of that. The soap easily covers all that. That's how well the soap is doing.
That's cool.
And I'm getting into goat's milk bath bombs next, and a line of more bath products. And I also have been doing just more for friends, but it's something that I'm looking into, is the frozen goat's milk, like for dogs and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I'm more in a testing mode on that one right now. So that's kind of for the animals. That's what the animals do for me. And I also put on workshops about the animals, and I guess the animals benefit me for that, having them here and being able to take people around and talk about the animals while I'm teaching them about how to keep animals.
Yeah. What are some workshops you've done in the past and that you'll hopefully do in the future?
The big one is always the chicken keeping one, and that one I'll putting another one on in September. And I haven't done a goat one yet, but I'm going to do a goat one in October. Those two got switched recently because of time constraints. But I also do soap making workshops and some sewing workshops as well. I'm a full self-sustainable person in one nice package.
So we talked about some of the struggles you guys have on your farm, and we talked about your products and such. What would you say is your biggest triumph of the farm? You look out your window and you look over and you think, yeah, I did that. What's your guys' triumph on your farm or favorite accomplishment?
Mine, I have a couple. One of them is the goat's milk soap, because I had no idea how much it would take off. And that's, the fact that a person can come to my house, buy a bar of soap, and I can say, okay, the milk from this soap came from that goat, and I hand milked her myself. And that's a really big thing for me. Anything that I did it with my own two hands is a big thing. I gathered these eggs myself, and there's I fed the chickens and they gave me eggs, and here you go. Another one is like, every time I put on a successful workshop, that to me is like the top, because I taught people this new skill, and then I end up inevitably being a kind of a mentor for all these people that went to my workshops. So yeah. That's one of the most rewarding things, is having people like constantly ask me questions, because I have that person, and I'm like, oh, I've reached that level, and that's, to me, that's really awesome to have reached that level.
Yeah. I know you've been a great help to me with my goats. Any issues I have, I often contact you. I'd love to get there some point with the goats. I'm there with the chickens, I think, but the goats, they're just a little different. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, and it takes a little while, and it's not this, and not everybody runs their goat or chicken operation the same, and you can only guide to a degree. You say, like, this is what I do, but if your setup is a little different, or if you have a angrier goat than I would, or a pickier goat than I would, then obviously some of those things aren't going to work for you, right? But I'm going to tell you everything that I know and everything that I've researched, because I do a lot of research. I think most people know that about me, and I think that's part of the reason why they they get a hold of me, because I'm the one who, like, I've done it to you. Here's the book for that. Here's this book. Here's this book. Here's this website.
Yeah.
And getting that experience, like, you've had a lot of experiences now that you know what to look for a few things as well.
Yeah. Our biggest thing with the goats right now is them trying to eat the poultry feed.
Yeah, and that's always a big thing, because they're so attracted to it.
They are magnetically pulled into it. They find new holes in the fence, and I'm always panicking since last time, but at least we know what medicine to request to fix that issue. I just wish I wouldn't have to request that medicine, right?
Yeah. So. If you ever wanted to see something truly magical, it's watching if Sunny gets out of the pen and she's wandering the yard. She will jump the chicken fence, and she's a big goat.
Yeah. Huge.
She's jumping a 4.5-foot fence to just try to get to the chicken feed. So they will do anything to get chicken food, and that's, unfortunately, it's incredibly poisonous for them.
Yeah. How do you guys connect your family to the farm? How do each one of you guys play a role in the farm, and how has it helped strengthen family bonds, maybe even?
Well, to tell the truth, I do most of it, obviously, because it's my passion.
Yeah.
But Jeff he's the fixer and the builder. He built the farm. He built the barn. He built all the fencing. He built the coops. He does, if there's anything to build or fix or anything like that. If you ever want to, everybody knows this person. They have this person in their lives that claims they don't like animals, or they're indifferent towards animals. But then if you just look away for a moment and you kind of peek in on them, all of a sudden they're the first one cuddling the animals.
Yeah, they're on the ground giving all the lovings they can.
That's right, and that's Jeff, is that person. He acts like he doesn't like all the animals, but I can tell he does. Sunny, he has a special bond with Sunny, and for some reason, and Rooster. he has a special bond with a rooster that likes to fight with them, and I don't understand that. But that's their thing. And Joey, who's 8, is addicted to all things chickens, and at some point he's going to be the next Josh. Because he is so obsessed with chickens. So if it has to do with chickens, Joey will help out no matter what. And I think he's learned a lot of compassion and everything from having animals for most of his life, and kind of to be a gentle and a gentle soul towards other living things, and a healthy respect for what animals can do as well.
Yeah, he's I know he's always excited every time he's down. He's always in the coops collecting the eggs.
Yeah, and he loves.
Nobody collects the eggs here but me, so
yeah, he loves all the chickens.
Yeah.
If it's chicken related, his favorite color is yellow because chicks are yellow, and so he just the fact that he loves it makes it worth doing everything, even on the days where it feels like a chore. And there are days like that. I don't feel it every day, but some days it does feel like, oh, I got to get up and do it again. But with having somebody that's so passionate about a kid that's so passionate about animals in your house, you can't, like, yeah, this is the reason I'm doing it.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for people wanting to start a small homestead, or just even get into chickens, who are thinking about this kind of lifestyle?
my suggestion is always to do your research, to ask people what their experience has been, and ask more than one person. Ask a few people, because everybody's experience is different. If you're thinking about something like getting into any kind of livestock, whether it's chickens or goats or whatever, you need to know what kind of time you have to do that. Chickens take a lot less time than goats do, which take a lot less time than what cattle would. You need to, and you can't. When you have animals, there's no opportunity to be lazy about it. You cannot be like, no, I'm not doing it today. You don't have that choice. So it's a real serious thought to take on any kind of animal. And doing your research is to me the absolute biggest thing. Get the books, get the research online, ask all the people that you could possibly find about their experiences, and then base your decision off of all of that. And know that there are mentors out there. And when you get into it, there's a whole new community that you didn't know existed. That is probably the most awesome kind of secret club that you didn't know you wanted to be in.
Yeah. That's one thing I've found, is the amount of people who are just like me, this crazily addicted to raising the animals. Yeah. There are so many people out there who have the exact same thoughts. I've met so many new people. It's crazy. There's a big Facebook footprint out there of just crazy chicken people.
and it's not just chickens. It could be any animal, but it's really nice. Like, I know if I went outside right now and Jeff was here and I got super excited over my rainbow rooster, and I was like, oh, I love my rainbow rooster, blah, blah, blah. Or if some random person from the city who's never been around animals and I was talking about this rooster, they would be like, who are you? Why are you like this? But if there was a chicken person that came up and like, oh my God, look at that rooster, and I could talk about that rooster all day. And that's the kind of, those are my people, right? And it's not just roosters. I could talk about Rosie's billowing hair all day too, because she's like a majestic goat. And it's stuff like that where somebody's getting just as excited as you are over the animals. Like when the last time I was at your place, those really big chickens, like I really want those really big chickens.
Yeah, well, we just got all the chickens moved out of the white coop. I gotta clean up the white coop and put in dividers, and we should be getting going on those.
But how many people there's a normal life, and then there's this other life. It's the exact same kind of feeling when people who are all into all these superhero characters and Comic-Cons and stuff like that, that's their people. There's a whole different feeling when you get into your people and you know that you can act weird.
Yeah.
And it's not weird, it's normal. This animal life is awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the best things I think I've ever jumped into.
You got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
You're not very old.
Nope.
So. you got a lot in front of you for that stuff, for sure.
Yeah. Well, for those of you watching, it feels a little weird saying that because there's no live audience, but
because they're listening too.
They hopefully will be listening in the near future. Candy Hauser, check out the Hauser Homestead on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure you don't have TikTok, do you?
Not yet. It's getting there. I have ideas.
Ideas, yeah, that's a good thing. So check them out, and she'll keep you posted on what they're doing.
I hope you all enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Please feel free to reach out if you'd like to hear from someone else, or if you'd like to have a spot on the podcast. You can also follow along on our Facebook for updates on the podcast. Also, be sure to check out the Hauser Homestead on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you all for listening. Look forward to hearing from you. I'll catch you next time.